Hey everybody, it's such a nice day today. I thought I would record this video from my backyard. And in this video, what I'd like to do is talk about changing the speed of our character. Because I think for my next power up, I want to do something that's going to affect how fast my character can move. Because I think that's one of the really important elements of this game is speed, because you're trying to get to the end of the maze before time runs out. So, in order to do that, we need to know like what is controlling our speed of Blocky. So, when we first had Blocky move, let's go to the Blocky sprite or your character sprite. You notice we're changing our values, our X and Y values by 3 every time we press a different key. So that's really what is affecting how fast Blocky moves. So if I change that value to say 5 or I lowered it to like 1, he's going to move either faster or slower. So now that I realize where I have to change that, the next thing I have to do is create a variable that I can put in there so that I only need to change one thing, which would be the value of that variable, in order to change the speed in all the different directions. Because I have 4 different directions changing speeds, I can't change those all at once without a variable. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to our data, and we've already made one variable, time, which is our timer. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to make another variable. So click on Make a Variable, and let's call this variable speed, since that's what it's going to be the value for. And you go ahead and do for all sprites, that's fine. Click OK. So now I have a speed variable. And what I'm going to do is I have it checked over here on the side, so it's going to show up on my screen. I'm just going to move it underneath the time variable. Okay, and I'm probably not going to keep it there all the time, but just for testing, it's good to know what it's going to be set to. So right now, our character moves 3 spaces every time we press a key. So I'm going to set my speed variable right off the bat in the very beginning to 3. So where I want to probably do that is, let's see, maybe I'll do it in my stage. So click on stage and see where I set the time variable to 60. Why don't we go there and drag out, set speed, and let's set it to 3. All right, so when I click the green flag in the very beginning of the game, my speed variable is going to get set to 3. So let's click the green flag and notice my variable now is at 3. So the next thing I need to do is just replace the speed numbers in Blocky's script with that variable. But there is one thing that we have to kind of figure out. I'll show you what that is. So go ahead and click on the Blocky sprite to get his scripts back. We can make sure you hit the stop button to stop all the scripts. And so what you notice here is I have changing values by 3, and it would just be easy to drag in the speed variable each time it changes. The problem is some of them go -3. So I need to figure out a way how I can take my speed variable and take exactly what it is but make it negative. So what I want you to do is we're going to replace basically 8 different things in here. Each time it says change X or change Y by, we have to replace those with a variable. So let's drag out 4 speed variables. Okay, because those are going to be 4 easy ones. The next thing we need to do is figure out how to get the speed be a negative number but still be the speed value. And the way you can do that is by multiplying it by -1. So if you take a positive number and you multiply it by a negative number, you end up with the same number but negative. Does that sort of make sense? I think if you multiply 2 negatives, you get a positive. But a positive and a negative will give you a negative. So we need one more block to do that. Go ahead and click in where it says operators. And there's one that is a multiplication one. It's the third one down. So go ahead and drag out 4 of those, because these are going to be our negative values. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is go back to my data, and we're going to put a speed variable in there, and we're going to multiply it by -1. So let me drag out a speed variable and just drop it in the first little bubble of each of those operators. Okay. And then we're going to put in -1 to the other bubble. So it's going to multiply by -1. Awesome. So all we have to do now is drop these in place in our script. So wherever there's a positive number, like change y by 3, you're just going to drop in the variable, because that's what it's set to right now, is 3. When it's change y by -3, you're going to grab the whole green thing and drop it in. That's going to be the negative number. So this would be -3. And you're going to do the same thing, but just be careful. My next one starts with a -3, so make sure when you're putting in a negative, you're dropping in the speed times -1, positive, just speed. Next one is positive, and yours might be laid out differently. So just be careful when you're doing this, that you get the negatives with the negatives and the positives with the positives. All right, I got to scroll down here to get to my last one. I got speed is in the positive, and here's my negative. There we go. All right, so now, in order to change my speed, if I go back to my game and I click the green button and I start moving blocky, I'm not going to notice any change because I basically set the speed variable to be exactly what it was. But now, if I wanted to make him slower, I could go back to my stage backdrops where I set the variable to begin with. And instead of making speed be 3, let's make it 1. Now, when I click the green button and I move blocky, look how slow he moves. Now, if I want to make blocky go super fast, I could go back and set the speed variable at the beginning. Let's make it 7. All right, so now he's going to move 7 steps every time I press the button. Now he's like cruising. So this is going to be really cool when if I want to make some other kind of power-ups that affect speed. So we'll do that in the next video. Bye.